sick. I found a little remote control to turning on the video camera. This ancient video camera. Sick. And I also have a new little microphone. A little baby one. And it literally looks like it's picking up nothing on the GarageBand. So I'm a little worried, but that's okay. Well, hey, hope things have been swell. I literally cannot believe that it is already, I'm gonna have to like hold this or something. I cannot believe it is already May. That is crazy and sad and depressing, and it's raining on a Friday. I called it. I knew we'd be cursed and it would be raining every single weekend. And that it is. It's raining every weekend. Yep. New York just knows how to really twist the knife. It really knows how. It was fun though, because this Monday was Met Monday. And for those of you who don't know, the Met is like, honestly, no idea. The Met is, what the fuck is the Met? I've never thought about this. The Met is like a fashion event. I don't even think they fundraise when they're there. I literally think it's just a day where a bunch of celebrities dress up and honor like certain fashion icons. Like this year seemed like kind of like a Black excellence trend, and also the theme of the fashion was like blazers and black and white and like tailored. Like literally I think the theme was like tailored black and white. How does anybody ever interpret that? That is weird. But the hotel that I live across from, please nobody rob me, is like a lot of famous people stay here, although it's very far downtown from where the Met is, which is uptown. But certainly like there were some fancy people staying here, because I literally could see into one of the windows of the hotel rooms somebody getting glam, sitting in their little chair with the hair and makeup artist, but their face was just covered by the curtain, so I actually couldn't see who it was, but it was a woman. So definitely some people were staying here. I mean, I would too, although it takes forever sometimes to get uptown, especially with this traffic. I definitely would have stayed further downtown just to get out of the chaos. But for those of you who aren't familiar with New York in general, the area that I live in, which is like further downtown, like Soho, Tribeca area, is just, in my opinion, I think the best neighborhood in the entire city, more so than the Upper East and Upper West, because I still feel like when you're up there, there's like an air of like arrogance too, because like especially the Upper East Side, everybody that's up there, most of the time, it's either a home or an apartment or a townhouse, brownstone that has been passed down generations, or it's like old wealth money, like Vanderbilt money. Down here, it's like just trendier and cooler and like shiftier, and I don't even know if that makes sense, but it's just darker buildings, not as tall of buildings, similar to the Upper West and East. I don't know, I just feel like the type of person that would be on the Upper East or West would be somebody that's wearing like Laura Piana pastels and like loafers and like quiet luxury. And down here, there is quiet luxury, but it's cooler. Like the moms have like a bunch of piercings in their ears, like dripping in diamonds, and they have their like sick Celine bag and their like Aviator Nation tracksuit that they go to Tracy Anderson, which is a super expensive, exclusive, members only workout club down here. I literally see women working out in their in their Aviator Nation jumpsuits. And then they scoop their little child up and shove them in the Birkin. Like it just seems more a little bit younger down here. And I can't really speak to the volumes of both the Upper East and Tribeca Soho area, but it is for the most part very, very, very quiet down here, to the point where if you hear horns or hear noises, you notice it immediately. And I cannot say the same for the last apartment I was in. I've literally lived in the noisiest neighborhoods, which there's obviously way more noisy neighborhoods here than there aren't. But I probably have lived in some of the noisiest areas possible, starting with the Lower East Side and then moving to 23rd Street in Chelsea. People wouldn't think 23rd Street is a very loud street, but let me tell you, 14th, 23rd, and there's a few other streets. So streets go left to right avenues go vertical in New York. And is that right? Yeah. And then it makes it even more confusing because like once you hit like West Village area, the grid system of the avenues and streets and the 1, 2, 3s and all that makes sense completely goes away, which is just ridiculous and hilarious. If you guys haven't seen SNL's cartoon animation of like the people coming across the Hudson River to like establish like the whatever pilgrims, I don't know who they are, come to establish like the grid system in New York, and it's like these two guys who were discussing like how crazy they're gonna make the train system and the street system in New York. It is hysterical and it's totally animated. It is so funny. I highly recommend going to watch that because it's like how we interpret it here. But anyways, so the avenues 14th and 23rd, they are really, really loud. And those two streets, 14th Street and 23rd Street, run both ways. And like any street where it operates like a normal street, like 2 lanes per going each way. A lot of streets here are one way. It's just like crazy. Like the crazies come out, they all attract and kind of stay around these areas because there's a lot of foot traffic. So if you're ever visiting New York, first of all, please feel free to reach out to me. Try to avoid the 14th streets, the 23rd streets. Definitely avoid Midtown. Like it baffles me when people come to New York. For example, a lot of my coworkers were in town this week for like in-person meetings and engagements, and they all were saying like, I cannot wait to leave. And I'm like, well, that's because we have all our meetings in Midtown. You're staying in a hotel like near Times Square. It's way more hectic than it would be if you were to like be down here near me or whatnot. And you always get such a bad taste in your mouth by coming to visit New York, especially for work engagements, because typically you're not staying at great hotels that are most importantly in good locations that are a bit quieter, closer to the water, either east or west. And yeah, it just maybe this is good though, because you need some repellents in this city to repel more people from wanting to move here. And certainly putting people in Midtown is a true repellent for more people to want to move to New York City. So, but yeah, I moved from Lower East Side to 23rd Street to then an area in Greenwich Village, which you'd be like, oh, Faith, that's right near West Village. That's really nice and quaint and quiet. No. The first day my roommate and I moved in was Halloween. I still think to this day, I know my senses were very heightened, that I think that was the loudest day I've ever experienced in New York in my life altogether. We lived above this infamous bar, honestly famous bar called Red Lion that's been around for years. Like old people know about Red Lion. It is jank. There's live bands that come. I have to say they have that place very well insulated, because once I adapted to the sound, I would come downstairs and like leave the building and I would notice that there was like a live band playing, which was pretty crazy. But they have like foam and everything on the inside, which a lot of restaurants should honestly take a page out of their book, because I find sometimes when I go to restaurants, I'm literally yelling over people. But it was the loudest day I've ever experienced in my life. The day we moved in, it was so bad that I had tears in my eyes. I was already so overwhelmed from the move, so physically, mentally exhausted, because I think this was the first move I had hired a little bit of help, and Dylan's back had just been thrown out, so he couldn't help me. I hired like some guys to help me just like unload and load, but it was chaos. I had everything in trash bags and individual bags. Nothing shapes a human's personality more than moving, especially in New York City. It's one of the worst things possible. Moving in general is really, really hard. And it's so disorienting and confusing. And it's like, wait, this is like the place that I felt so safe. And everything had its place and it was all together. And now I look around and there's like nothing. There's like dust on the floor and nothing's in the place it was. Like, how am I ever going to fit everything in this new place? I have so much more stuff than I anticipated. It's just everything about moving is overwhelming. And Dylan and I lied in bed that night. You would have thought there was no windows, that there was gaping holes in the wall facing the street. That's how loud the street noise was. You were hearing individual people's conversations. Honestly, they could have been whispering, you could hear them, let alone the screaming, the noise, the music. The door was literally left open at Red Line, which means the music was just funneling out. There were thousands of people on our street, and I gave Dylan my AirPods because I'm so nice. And he even had to go home at like 3 a.m. because he couldn't even fall asleep with the AirPods in. And I was literally wide awake. My eyes were open the entire time. And then now I'm here, and it is so quiet, and it's just absolute bliss. And we have such great natural light, which is so critical living in New York City. I'm definitely can be a hermit sometimes and like not go outside and stuff, but it's gotten even worse here. But I don't feel like it's gotten worse because there's so much natural light. I like genuinely do feel like I'm outside and like don't feel the need to be like, oh my God, like I gotta get outside, I haven't seen the sun. I like feel the sun on my face sometimes that I'm like, oh, perfect, don't need to leave for another hour. But anywho, I really can't believe it's May. That's cuckoo, crazy pants. We've had a lot of developments over this last week, in 2 weeks, 3 weeks personally. I've definitely realized that but I've leaned into the fact that I love being a very busy person and having a lot of things going on in my life. So finally, I'm going to be taking what not even is a really leap of faith, but at least I owe it to myself in getting my mat Pilates and reformer Pilates certification, maybe eventually my personal training certification as well, and start teaching classes around New York City, building my fitness brand, building my brand in itself. Like fitness has always been something so important to me, bringing people together, specifically women, like having people just like work on themselves and care and like spend an hour out of their busy day prioritizing their body and their mental health. Like it is just something that is so important to me as a person and something that I really want to be a part of and feel like I'm encouraging others to do for themselves. And you might be wondering like why I thought to do this earlier, and truthfully I wish I had done this when I was in college. Like I've gotten my certifications. It might have been a bit overwhelming with schoolwork, but I would have been in the training and studying mode anyways. But I think I just had like a lot of self-doubt, truthfully, of like thinking, can I really do this? Would I really be good at that? Like maybe I would be too hard on people. Maybe people would like, because I've been to thousands and thousands of classes. I've experienced thousands of teachers and instructors. I've seen a lot of things, and I've also been very opinionated about the way I want fitness classes to go. And some may say like you're doing a group fitness class, like you really can't have much say in that at all. Like it's up to the instructor. Like you should just do one-on-one training if you're so critical. But at the same time, it's like we're all paying a good chunk of money to be there almost every single day. And if you're a person like me that likes to come every single day, you're really invested in things. So you really kind of nitpick what you like and don't like about instructors. So I'm like, do I really want to be on the other side of that and be teaching people like me who are super critical and basically put myself in a really vulnerable position to be judged? And at the end of the day, that is something that I am okay with. And I've actually really opened myself up to all forms of just like really trying to do something that I've kind of silenced, and that's also vlogging and just doing things and content creation and doing things that I feel like genuinely deep in my gut, in my stomach, in my like just so deep in my bones that I know is so fun for me and so representative of who Faith is as a person. And you might be thinking like, what are things in myself that other people might agree, or what are things in myself that I'm not sure if like truly are super representative of me? I'll tell you how to seek clarification in this, and that is simply by telling people that you are thinking about doing something. For me, telling people that I'm considering getting my certification and start teaching. Not that this wasn't something that people were telling me to do for a really long time. My old roommate, Nicolina, had been telling me to do this over and over and over again. But you will get so much clarity in your close friend group or in your family, or even by people who may not know you that well but know enough about you, with their reaction by you telling them this. And it is very reassuring. Not that you need anybody's assurance to do anything in your life, but it's nice to know that, wow, this is like definitely something that is so recognized in other people. I'm so grateful that now I see this for myself, and in a way it's peaceful knowing that it makes sense to others. So we're doing that. I'm going to start that in the next few weeks, hopefully having my mat Pilates by the end of the summer certified, and then I'm going to get my reformer during a fall cohort during a cohort in the fall, and then I'll be fully mat and reformer trained, and then might try to just like make some money back that way, teaching at various studios, probably New York Pilates, where I started my reformer Pilates journey, hopefully Practice Room, where I currently go now, and then probably seek my personal training certification so I can then maybe teach at a gym near me that Dylan so kindly got me like a personal training session for. These guys came from Dog Pound previously and like started their own gym because it was getting really political with Dog Pound, and they were just like bleeding money. And I went for one session and they were like, we would hire you. I'm like, oh my God, that's so nice. I don't even have my certification or anything. They're like, well, if you consider getting it, like, we would hire you. So, I mean, I don't know, that could be nothing, but I was very flattered. So we have things in the mix, and the vlogging stuff's just been really fun. I normally had thought I had to like always vlog on a G7X or on a nice vlogging camera, but truly I've just been doing it on my phone, and it's very easy and it reduces the barrier to entry so much. And as I'm like starting to post more and like do this more and recognize it more, my algorithm on TikTok has been surfacing like a lot of women who are also doing the same, which is just so encouraging, because then I'm like, wow, here we are. We're all just trying to do this. And I think it's really important, especially if you are interested in content creation, to ensure that you are aligned with yourself as to why you're doing it. And my why is like, obviously it's very lucrative, like you can, but I think you really have to get to deep stages, and the engagement numbers have to be really good. Like there's a lot of statistics that make you make money. Like you could have hundreds of thousands of followers and hundreds of thousands of likes, but if your conversion rates and engagement isn't high, then basically you can't really have good rates of what you charge brands to pay you. So obviously it's lucrative, but I think my real why is I really, really love helping people, and I love being a sounding board, and just like words of affirmation to people. It's interesting in my family because I'm obviously the youngest of 3 girls, but in a way, I've always craved feeling like a big sibling and an older sibling to people, whether it's through just like friendships and that I've had with my teammates, friendships with school friends, friendships in work. I've always felt like an advice giver, and many times unsolicited, but I really like being just a truth fountain for people. I like being very real and authentic, and I feel like I come across exactly how I am in life through the video camera. And I would love one day to like have a forum where I'm like similar to how other influencers operate today, answering questions from their followers, giving life advice, giving friendship advice, relationship advice, fitness advice, like all of it. Not that my word is God, like at all. Like I totally am a human. A lot of the things I say you guys may very much disagree with, or even more so may really think that it's not novel at all, and that's totally fine. I'm opening myself up to give my opinion, and unfortunately and naturally it comes with the consequence of people judging you, whatever that might be. But I feel secure enough in myself to do this and open myself up to people, but B, I'm very, very motivated by the why, which is I know ultimately I will continue to help a lot of people and be a good sounding board and just be like, I don't know, some sort of affirmation in whatever they're going through for them, and create and cultivate a group of women that have similar interests and have similar, like it would literally be a dream to me to formulate a community of people who follow my content or listen to me and also become friends that way. Because that is a topic I wanted to talk about, is making friends in your later years in life, and why it's so important to like never stop making friends. But it also is really hard. So that would be a huge accomplishment for me if I felt like I had a community of which people were telling me that they were meeting friends through and have in-person engagements in the city. Like, I'm a huge dreamer, and like even like knowing when you have an idea and then you really start to not only manifest it but start to act on it, because there's truly no better time than now to just start doing. Like, there's one thing to think about it and manifest it, but you really just have to get started and do it. And once I've started doing it and like doing these things and posting and deciding I'm going to do my certifications, it really feels like I'm just at the start of like really gaining a lot of momentum and continuing to carry that with me. And I feel like true joy and happiness in myself. Nerves, of course, like tons of nerves, tons of anxiety, because what if it doesn't work out? What if it's like so much work for nothing? And I'm sure I'll feel those moments where I'm like, why am I doing any of this? But if you felt that way about your corporate life then and gotten through that and probably seasonally feel that in corporate life, then why not do something that actually gives you something back in return that is greater than just what our corporate jobs give us? So hence my like propensity to always be talking about having interests outside of work and things you really enjoy, and things that inspire you and motivate you. It's I really think it's so important for the fulfillment of life, to see these things through. For me personally, I would have deep regret if I didn't. So I'm very excited, and I'm really excited to take you guys all on this journey. I have some really cool interviews coming up with some people that I really admire, and I think will be really interesting to get their perspective. So stay tuned for that. But I did want to cover a topic of a few things. One is definitely making friends as you get older, and why I think it's such a hard and difficult thing, why it was easier when we were younger, and why I think it should be something that we continue to prioritize in our life. But there's a caveat with that last piece. Why I think making friends as you get older is so hard is because people typically come out of their childhood, high school, or college, and either out of one of those three, maybe two, if you're really lucky, 3 out of 3, come out of all those buckets with friends from each, or from one, or from all, or from two. They come with friends into their young adult life, and they've probably moved to similar cities together, maybe live together, and naturally just don't have a lot of time to be thinking or needing, wow, I don't really know that many people, I probably should go make more friends. It's just really a matter of, we have this person's birthday party this weekend, this person's hosting a housewarming party this weekend. It naturally just evolves into a new normal, the same friend environment in a new city. I noticed this right out of college when a lot of the East Coast schools continued to migrate to New York and live here. I felt really out of the loop because all my UCLA like people stayed in LA naturally. And now that I'm been here for quite some time now, like over 4 years, it feels like longer. I've started to see the de-evolution of people leaving the city, new people moving here with not a long laundry list of friends to reach out to. And naturally, anybody who feels vulnerable or feels like they don't have their people with them, it can be very intimidating. And there's a few tips that I have to making friends and to like how to really open yourself up as a person, and how it's really not as hard as we think. And then also the importance of continuing to make friends even if you do feel really content in your life, because I don't think anybody should ever close themselves off to new people and new perspectives in their life just because they feel that their cup is very full with their current friendships. But when I first was here, I was like struggling because I was like, wow, these people, I remember I've talked about this before, but I would walk past restaurants and there'd be like the cutest girl groups eating dinner in the window. And restaurants strategically put these friend groups in the window, by the way, to attract people to come and walk into the restaurant and eat there. But I remember I'd feel so like sad even though I'd be watching these like fun group of friends just eating dinner and laughing and drinking, because I was like, wow, I like don't have that at all, and constantly reminded of that. And now I have great friend groups, so much so that I have such fun things planned every weekend that I'm so grateful for. And I remind myself of the time, like I just have such gratitude because I remember what it felt like to not have that. And I feel so grateful to have multiple friend groups now and friends who I love and treasure so deeply here in the city with me. New friends, old friends, and that I feel so grateful. And now my like sadness has transitioned into when I see families on Sunday nights going out to dinner with each other and all the siblings and the mom and the dad in a cute restaurant in West Village, or like around Easter time or around holidays where you see like full families spending time together and all the little kids running around. That makes me sad because I'm so far from my family and I don't have we're not consistently near each other where we can be doing this. But I future see my life being a lot closer physically to my sisters, location-wise, where we can do this and be all together again. But yeah, it's just weird to say, like, you may think you're satisfied in one area, and then all of a sudden you're like, now I look at this so differently, and now I look at all the cute families and all the siblings and all their children hanging out together, and that makes me sad. But if it worked out with the friendships, I'm sure it'll work out with the family. But it was interesting, yeah, because like all my friends would just hang out with each other, and I remember I'm so grateful to have had Dylan, because I think this trip would have been horrible. I definitely would have been long gone out of New York if I didn't have him. And I really, really admire, like I feel like he was a crutch for me, because I feel really in admiration of those of you who have moved to new cities, no boyfriend, no family, no friends, just did it for yourself or maybe for a job relocation, because that takes big guts. And that takes having security in yourself or knowing that you will be okay at some point. But it definitely takes a lot of confidence. And so if you are one of those people that have done that, like, wow, hats off to you. That is so impressive. But now after being here for 4 years, I mean, if you're in a city for 4 years and you haven't made a single friend, like that's tough. Like you probably got to take a look on the inside. But I think if you are struggling to make friends, or maybe you're worried to move to a city because you are unsure how you'll make friends, and that's preventing you from going, or you are in a new city or have been there for some time and you still don't really feel fulfilled in your friendships, I think I'd take a look at kind of where are you spending your most time in extracurricular activities during the week and on the weekends. For me, obviously fitness, I've mentioned numerous times, is extremely integral to who I am. So naturally, I go to my studio every single week, every single day, pretty much of the week. And you start to become familiar with not only the owners of the studios, but other people that come frequently. And it's just as simple as like being like, hey, I noticed you come to a lot of the classes, saying something of like, oh, have you taken Candace's class on Tuesdays? She's amazing. Like we should sit next to each other one time. Or could I get your phone number, because people save mats really early at these studios. I'm happy to save a mat for you if you're running late, and vice versa. Like breaking the ice that way. And it's so much easier to do it with people you recognize and are familiar to you. So maybe if you aren't a part of any like membership or studio, maybe joining one, or just kind of tuning into your environment for a second and thinking, oh, wow, I actually have been taking classes like 3 days out of the week with this woman. I should go introduce myself. And, you know, you're going to get rejected, but what is life without some rejection? We all need it. Again, just like how we need some repellents in New York City, so not everybody moves here. You need some rejection in life. But I think that's a quick icebreaker. I'd also say probably the easiest and best icebreaker. I'd also say if you're religious, you go to church. I can only imagine. I remember when we went to church, everybody was talking to everybody, yapping it up. I'm like, oh my God, we gotta get out of here. Because, you know, everybody's so nice. And I'm sure there are some, you know, some bad eggs in there. But I think church is such a great area. Arguably even better than a workout studio, because people can't be mean because of God to a religion or temple or whatever religion you have to meet people and introduce yourself, especially if every Sunday, whatever, every Saturday you're seeing the same folks. Just breaking the ice there. Running clubs is also a great opportunity. There's tons of them in New York, San Francisco, LA. There's so many running clubs all over the world. That is such an easy way to make friends. And introduce yourself to people, and you already have a common interest. Like, God, when you meet people and introduce yourself to people at common spaces, you immediately have something in common. Unless like it's their first time ever running in their life, then like maybe avoid them. But you already know that they love running, that they probably care about themselves and their body, that they're probably likely to go do other wellness things with you around the city. It's like dating. You want to introduce yourself to people in situations that you can also understand who they are as a person. What are some other examples? Honestly, this is going to sound crazy, but going out to eat by yourself, which truthfully I don't do a lot, really ever. But man, I think I did it once, and like I hear really, really glowing things about doing this. People will go out of their way to be accommodating for you when they see you eating alone. People, like, it's a natural human instinct when it's an uncomfortable thing to do yourself. And it also visibly is something uncomfortable, I think, for people to see people doing, because humans in general, especially if we're out in public doing something so publicly and eating and dining around groups of people and couples, physically for me, I feel the need to like go out of my way and talk to these people, and that's probably the last thing these people want. But let me tell you, you go and sit at the bar alone, you will be yapped to all night. Like, either these people want to be yapped to, or they're just like really just trying to read their book. But for some reason, I feel like they end up having the most dialogue out of anybody in that entire room, more so than the awkward couple next to you or the fighting couple across the room. Like, when you go out to eat alone, people are just drawn to that energy and feel the need to just surround you with conversation, and especially sitting at the bar to get food and drink. You'll definitely somewhere in New York get multiple free drinks too, which is always amazing. And then it's hard too, once you have that friendship, to nurture it. Like, that honestly is the hardest part, is once you've made a friend and put yourself out there, is being consistent with it. Like, I have a few friends who I met through like volunteering or just through my workout studios, and it's hard to like get to that second phase of like actually like going and hanging out and doing things. In New York, we like live on top of each other, similar to any other city, but naturally like neighbors can become close friends of yours, or you can live anonymous to your neighbors your whole life. But kind of if you take that step of interest of being like, I don't know what their lives are like, maybe I should just invite them over for dinner or something, it opens it up to be such a wonderful engagement, in my opinion. It can also go very south, but I think when you're able to put faces to a name, especially in the building you live in, it's way better, it's way nicer, and you feel safer. That reminds me of one of the women in this building that we've become friends with. I like watch her dogs a lot. She's been so nice, and she's like offered for us to borrow her car, which I'm like, oh my God, that is literally a dream come true. But if I hadn't put myself out there and asked if I can help her in any way, walk her dogs, help her out, she's just a single woman living in this building, we would have never formed such a great relationship, and honestly friendship at this point. Like, I love seeing her, I love her dogs, and we wouldn't have known that we can borrow her car anytime, which is literally the life's most wonderful luxury in New York City. Why I think it's so important for people to continue to make friends in their life, and honestly not ever get really comfortable with those in your life, is I think it's just a matter of always be seeking new perspectives, and just always being someone that, is open to others. Like, I think everybody can agree that they want to be considered a friendly person, and warm and welcoming and inviting. And I think you can really put that to test about yourself, is in your ability to make a new friend. And it doesn't need to be someone that's like a best friend immediately that you're hanging out with all the time, but just having familiar faces to the places you go to, and just opening yourself up to be warm and inviting to the people around you, I think is so overlooked, especially now in society, and especially with just like how people operate, not only in New York City, but just in areas in general in life, because we're so instantly gratified by what we're receiving on social media and the really just non-physical communications we have through Instagram, through text, through phone calls, even through Snapchat. These super transient forms of communication, I think, has made people think that they're hardwired to not have to engage socially as much. But like, I really think it's so important for people to go out of their way and have conversations and form friendships, or just simply relationships. It doesn't even need to be a friendship. Relationships with people that they see often or that they have similar interests to them, because A, it invites new perspectives in your life. B, you can remind yourself in a narcissistic way that you are capable of getting new friends, maintaining new friends, forming new relationships, being viewed as someone that you always want to be, which is kind and warm and inviting and loving and a good listener. And yeah, I just don't know. I just feel like it's, how lonely would this life be if you don't seek other people's like relationship and friendship. Like it's really hard for me to even think of myself of like going to these studios that I go to and not making friends, because that I physically, that would be almost impossible for me, in my opinion. And I'd be curious to hear other people's perspectives on why people may not want to make friends, or may not think it's actually as good as I'm saying it'll be. I'd be curious to hear your perspectives, because I really feel like it's a net win thing. But, and then worst case scenario, if all your friendships in your current life end up falling apart for various reasons as we get older, you got great backups, and you also have confidence in yourself that you can go and make more friends, and it's completely possible for you. But yeah, friendships are crazy, and I think it's just important to be doing things that make you uncomfortable, and forging new friendships as you get older is great. I don't know if this is controversial or not, or an unpopular opinion, but I do think right now in this age we're in, 20s to probably like 35, you're dating, you're either in a relationship, single, not interested. I think this is the hardest time to make new friends. And then once you have children and get married and settle down, I think it gets way easier to have friends. And then once your kids grow up and leave the house, it's probably really hard to make friends, and you're probably even less interested, because you're like, I've done this my whole life, no thanks. But I do think once you have children, naturally, just through your children's schools and sports and extracurricular activities, it becomes way easier to make friends. So that can be something to look forward to if you feel like you aren't capable of doing it now. And also give yourself grace that if you are struggling to forge new friendships and maintain them, that you are really in a hard time right now to do so, because we're all caught up in just having to establish ourselves in our work and figure out kind of what we want to do in life, and how we're going to make money and be financially independent, and where we're going to live, and who we're going to date, and do we even like ourselves? Like, what am I going to eat for breakfast tomorrow? Do I need to go grocery shopping? Like, there's so much decision fatigue. So go easy on yourself if you are struggling with the whole friendship conversation right now. And I'm telling you, if you just open yourself up a little bit to people, where the places that you frequent, it will pay itself back in dividends. And if anything, you'll just learn a little bit more about yourself, and maybe realize, oh, that's interesting. I didn't like that person said that, or actually that person was really not what I thought she was going to be like at all. Like, that was great that happened, but like, not interested anymore. It's so healthy to do this, and you don't need to be dismissive about it. But even having relationships with people that you made in your adult life that eventually you're like, meh, not serving me, that's fine, because at least you put yourself out there, at least you tried. And I think that's such a positive thing to just try in general. So I really encourage you guys all to think, when was the last time I made a new friend? And I challenge you. And now I hear someone honking. I literally jinxed it. I'm like, big honks going on outside. But anyways, I hope this was an insightful episode. Please follow me on YouTube and go watch all my vlogs. I'm so excited. I love that I'm doing this. And the haters. If there are any, please don't show yourself yet. Please, 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 please. Okay. Bye. Bye.